Hello again, another rambling miscellany from me out here in the largest village green in England, which it is, 42 acres owned by the community. Extraordinary. It's all woodlands, meadows, fields, and it's bounded by farms. It's just a lovely thing to have, and it's just inside the Chiltern Hills area of outstanding natural beauty as well, so it's never going to be built on, which is lovely, isn't it? Anyway, onwards and upwards. What? Go on, you. All this green stuff you can see here on the ground, this is all bluebells. This is going to look absolutely fantastic in a couple of months' time. One of my favourite times of year, when this is all bluebells. And this is one of my favourite oak trees. I just love the fact it's got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4... I've shown it before in one of these videos. There's 4 or 5 stems on there, all coming down this one fantastic trunk. And it goes on, it goes out over here. And all that brown stuff there, that's all dead bracken. That'll all be fresh ferns soon, and one little clump of daffodils in the middle. Oh, lonely. It's mostly oak up through here, but you've also got little columns here of hazel, and you've got some cherry. But it's a nice little wooded walk, and these hazel columns mark the boundary with this farm field next door. And as I've said before in the video, these hazel clusters, which are quite regularly spaced, you'll see there's one there, look, there's one there, there's one there, there's one there, there's one there, there's one there. Those were actually planted deliberately. They were coppiced so that the long straight poles could be used for things like making fences and laths, and even in possibly wattle and daub. But as you can see, they are incredibly regular, these. Another one, there's another one. They're probably pretty old as well. I mentioned if we could dig right through to the central trunk, it's probably pretty old. Right, onwards. You'd think at first glance this tree's dead, wouldn't you? Look at it, it's leaning over, it's all twisted. But look at all that new growth. It's fabulous, isn't it? In case you're wondering, it's a hawthorn, and it's got that lovely crusty bark to it. A lovely looking thing. So we'll have lots of lovely red berries later on in the autumn, which is good because you can eat them. They're sort of related to apples. They've got a similar sort of taste, and they're certainly all right as an ingredient in hedgerow jelly if you're making a sort of hedgerow jam. Num num num. I like these roots coming into this tree. This one again looks dead, covered in moss, but it's actually very much alive and lots of new growth on it. What I particularly love about this tree here next to it is that it's kind of made us... Harris, get out of there. It's a badger set. Yeah, he always smells it. Over here, this one has made its own props. If I can get in close enough to show you. Can you see, look, there's like a little upside down Y here, which is growing out of the trunk. And then if you look over this side, there's another one here. It's actually made its own props, so it's all that's stopping it basically hitting the floor. I'll try and get it better from this side, although it's quite difficult because there's a sort of arch here. But there, can you see those 2 Y-shaped props there? Fabulous. Quite a lot of dock. Not quite sure what this stuff is yet. I reckon it's probably hogweed, but I'll wait and see what the flowers look like when they come out. Although I say that's probably hogweed there. That's hogweed. That might well be wild chervil, or it could be cow parsley. I will wait and see when the flowers come out, because then you can tell. Because unfortunately, with all the carrot family, some are delicious, some will kill you. It's just the way it is, and you definitely don't want to be mistaking it for this stuff, because that, of course, is Lords and Ladies or Cuckoo Pint. That's poisonous. But this stuff's good. I'm sure you remember that stuff from when you were at school, ripping out the hedgerows and throwing it at each other to stick to each other's clothes. It's called cleavers, and cleavers is the name, singular and plural. So it's a single cleavers plant, or a number of cleavers plants. And also known by the rather more prosaic and funny name of sticky willy. Sticky willy is actually quite useful because it is edible. It's a bit tough, a bit fibrous, and it's got some hooks, backward facing sort of hooks on its stems. So you need to cook it first, soften it up in a bit of butter. My favourite way of using it is to take a bunch of stems, bruise them, stick them in a jar of water overnight in the fridge, then in the morning run it through a sieve, and what you've got then is a really quite deliciously flavoured water. It tastes a bit like cucumber water, and it's really nice for adding to sort of squashes and things like that, and it's full of good things, full of good vitamins and minerals. So there you go, sticky willy, not just a silly kids game. This tree is amazing. Look at it, it's almost completely hollow. Look at that. It's almost like a chimney, but part of it is still connected to the ground down here. And also there's one part of the old original body with all these exposed roots here, but that's going down into the ground down there, and that's enough to sustain it. That's extraordinary, isn't it? Talking to people who lived in the area a lot longer than I have, I've only been here about 20 years, but there's some people who walk around here with their dogs who've been coming to these fields for 50, 60 years, and they tell me that back in the old days this was a plain flat meadow with a couple of biggish trees in it, but mostly just flat meadow, and there would be cows and horses in here. So all of these trees here that you can see, they're all around the same height because they were all planted around the same time in the sort of late 70s, early 80s. So they're only about sort of 50 years old, 40, 50 years old. Whereas of course the ones on the borders, as you can see here, are much more substantive and have been here a lot longer. But what's really interesting, I think anyway, is that there's quite a few of these little younger trees. So, sorry, it's a bit squelchy, so I'm being a bit careful I don't end up on the arse. Yeah, these little trees here, now these are all oaks, because everything around here is oaks. And I look at a little tree like this. Now if I was to measure the girth of it, I reckon it's about, oh, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches round, so it's probably no more than about 3 or 4 years old. But I doubt it's been planted deliberately. This is probably an acorn that's managed to set and has grown. And there's another one just beyond it there, look. There's 2 of them growing just either side of the path. Now, what that makes me think about is the fact that there's so many oak trees here that over the course of the last 50 years they've probably produced millions and millions of acorns, and yet only a few of them have managed to take. It just shows you what the failure rate is, doesn't it? Bloody noisy helicopters. So what was it about those particular acorns that made them survive and all the millions of others not? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? It's pure chance, I suppose, really. They just happened to land in exactly the right spot or in just the right conditions, or you know, they were just lucky that the squirrels or the jays didn't get them, because there's plenty of both of those around here. I was seeing about 4 jays today, and there's loads of squirrels. Yeah, it's the randomness of the universe, isn't it? And the randomness of my thought process. Idle thoughts of an idle fellow. Starting to get the plantain coming up in the field. Plantain, very useful, very useful. Contains natural antihistamines. So if you get stung by a bee or stinging nettles, reach for the plantain leaves. People make the mistake of going for dock leaves, but dock leaves don't do anything. There's no active ingredients whatsoever. It's just the fact that it's a large, cool feeling leaf. So it's more placebo effect than anything else. Find a plantain, you've got proper antihistamines in there. Take my word for it. A big old bed of sticky willy here, look. Loads of it. And in amongst all the holly and the brambles. Again, all this greenery you can see on either side isn't grass. If you look closer, you can see how big it is. It's all bluebells. I'm so looking forward to it. It's my favourite time of the year. That sort of. So glad you could join me again today, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.